Dave Olson. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? What makes a Christmas movie? Some people try to classify Lethal Weapon as a Christmas movie, but that one could take place on the 4th of July or Arbor Day and the plot would be identical. But Christmas is central to Die Hard. What say you? What say you, good sirrah? I haven't seen Die Hard in one piece, Dave. I know it's a really good movie, and I've heard people having the Christmas movie discussion about Die Hard before, but every now and then I have to say I just don't know, and this is one of those cases where I just don't know. I do know that It's a Wonderful Life is a Christmas movie, and in one of our right angles that we shot last night, they're a day late because we didn't get to shoot them yesterday morning, had to shoot them at night because of the holidays. Scott was at work. Scott's segment of Right Angle this week was about the fact that he went to the movies and he had a spectacularly good time. He saw a movie twice for maybe I think he said the second time in his life or something. He went to see The World's Greatest Showman and he just loved it. And he asked me what I thought about, the idea of Hollywood making a good movie that made you feel good, to come out feeling good. And I said, well, Scott, culture is like anything else, like engineering, especially it's like software. I mean, it's malleable, so garbage in, garbage out, right? Surely you remember that timeless Christmas classic, It's a Meaningless Life, directed by Oliver Stone. It's... as I credit him in the Right Angle segment, Lionel Chetwin pointed out to me that It's a Wonderful Life is an exceedingly political movie. And anybody who hasn't seen it, I cannot recommend it highly enough, but virtually everybody's seen It's a Wonderful Life. And I've mentioned this a few times before, just to dance over it real quick. Because in It's a Wonderful Life, Frank Capra shows America to be a fundamentally good place. Bedford Falls is America. It's any town, USA. And Bedford Falls is a lovely place to be. It's a wonderful place to live. It's the mythical America that we all love and that still amazes my wife to this day. After being here for 14 months now, 15 months, something like that. She still can't believe, the idea that people can leave things in their car without the car being broken into and things like that. There's much about Russia that I didn't know and much about Russia that's much better than I ever knew. But that fundamental decency of America, that fundamental friendliness and kindness strikes my Russian wife all the time, and me quite a bit, but not as much as her because I haven't lived without it. But It's a Wonderful Life is a political movie because what it basically is saying is not just that America's a good place. He's saying it's a good place because it's filled with good people. And the entire message of It's a Wonderful Life, according to Lionel Chetwin, I think he's absolutely right, is that when you take the good person, when you take the virtue out of Bedford Falls, then it becomes Potterville. Then it becomes a place of strip joints and closed stores and all this heartbreak. But that's not its natural condition. And when the people who live in Bedford Falls, the virtuous people like George Bailey, because they're all virtuous, we just followed George Bailey's story. It was just anybody's story. It could have been anybody's story. But when George Bailey is removed from Bedford Falls, it becomes a horrible place. And when George Bailey returns to Bedford Falls at the end of that movie, it becomes Bedford Falls again. And he's the richest man in Bedford Falls. That is not just a Christmas movie, it's a political movie. And just since I can't really answer your question, but you certainly deserve a little bit of my time, I'll just say one more thing. And again, I'm repeating what I said on the Right Angle show, but that's okay. Sometimes different audiences. When I met Natasha, met her in New York, and we went to see Les Miserables on Broadway just before it closed. And that is simply the best thing I've ever seen. That particular staging of that show is the best thing I've ever seen. And the end of that play, that play contains everything. There's every relationship is in that play. There's father-daughter relationship, father-son relationship, boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, enemies, adversaries, unwanted love, all it's all there. And when this whole thing comes together, at the end, it's impossible for anybody with a soul of any kind to not be moved to tears. I mean, you just hear people just sobbing under their breath at the end of this play when Valjean dies and then this rousing ending. Now, the point of all this is when you walk out of something like that, and I'm not talking about walking out into Cowtown, and God bless Cowtown, by the way. But when you walk out from an experience like that onto something as exciting and as kind of real and as loud, as bright as the streets of New York City at nighttime, you feel like you're not entering reality so much as you're leaving reality. That the emotional pitch and the intensity of everything that you felt in that theater in the last 3 hours makes the real world feel like a sleepwalking dream, that the actual reality of human experience is not out here on the streets. It's in there. That's what it's all about. That's storytelling at the very best level, and not just storytelling in terms of the script or the acting. It's the lighting, it's the music, it's the sets, it's costumes, all of it. And it gives you a sense of having had so many emotions wrung out of you in such a short period of time, and done so artfully, and done in such a way that you don't feel awful afterwards. Done to raise you up, not to bring you down. And that's certainly the reaction that Scott had to World's Greatest Showman, which I certainly would like to go see now based on that. So while I can't answer the diehard question for you, Dave, I can tell you that that despite my disgust at what this city has become from the days of It's a Wonderful Life, and despite the pain of seeing so much talent being put to such bad usage, such poor usage, in some cases such evil usage, so much talent being either thrown away or actively used to advance really bad and dangerous and deadly ideas. It's sad to realize what it's capable of when it's firing on all cylinders, and apparently that's what was happening with World's Greatest Showman. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. Hugh Jackman, I think it's the story of P.T. Barnum, although needless to say, P.T. Barnum didn't strike me as a charming guy who was a great dancer and singer. But Hugh Jackman has been married to the same woman for 27 years, 33 years, whatever. He seems to be one of the very few people in Hollywood, he's actually Australian, who is a genuinely nice guy. And I've never heard a bad thing about him. I've never heard him utter a political opinion of any kind. So, good for him. Yeah, anyway.